Welcome back to DRM News Podcast. I was looking at Google Maps the other day, and something totally weird popped up.
Hmm.
You ever search for like a place you know really well,
Yeah.
and it's just like completely renamed?
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen stuff like that happen.
It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Well, that's what's been happening with the Gulf of Mexico.
Really?
At least if you're in the U.S. and you're using Google Maps, it's showing up as the Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America.
Yeah, the Gulf of America. Sounds kind of strange, right?
Yeah, that's not what it's called.
I know, right? So I started digging into it, and apparently it goes back to an executive order from President Trump.
Okay.
CNN Business had an article about it, and they said it was signed pretty soon after he took office.
Interesting.
But, like, what's the reason behind it, Like,
Oh.
why change the name?
Well, the executive order talks about honoring American greatness.
Okay.
And specifically, it calls out former President Obama's decision to rename Mount McKinley back to Denali
Oh, yeah.
back in 2015. And they basically say that was an affront to McKinley's legacy.
So that's where Denali comes in.
Exactly.
I did see something about how the order also wants to switch Denali back to Mount McKinley,
Right.
although Google Maps hasn't made that change yet.
Not yet.
What I find really interesting is that it's not just like a symbolic thing.
Yeah.
The CNN article says that, like, the FAA
Oh, wow.
is updating all their charts and data to say Gulf of America and Mount McKinley. And even the Coast Guard is already using the new name for the Gulf in, like, their public notices.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, it really makes you think about, like, the power of names, It's not just like a word on a map.
Yeah, it's not just a label. It's really about, like, how we understand and interact with these places.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, imagine all the confusion this could
Oh,
cause.
absolutely.
Like, what about international communications or trade agreements that specifically mention the Gulf of Mexico?
Right. Could get really messy.
And what about the people who actually live and work around the Gulf? I wonder how they feel about this sudden name change.
That's a really important point. It brings up questions about cultural identity and historical representation.
Yeah.
The Gulf of Mexico has such a rich and diverse history. You've got influences from indigenous people, Spanish colonization, and all these different waves of immigration.
Right.
Renaming it to the Gulf of America kind of feels like oversimplifying a really complex story.
It does feel like drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And this whole thing about honoring American greatness, what does that even mean?
It's definitely a loaded phrase.
Yeah.
Some people might argue that it's about emphasizing national pride and, like, asserting America's place in the world.
Yeah.
Others might see it as a way to appeal to a particular group.
Wow. So we started with a name changer on Google Maps.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about history and politics and even how we see our own national identity.
It's amazing how these things connect.
Totally. So much to think about. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
And to everyone listening, we want to hear your thoughts on this whole Gulf of America situation.
Yeah. What do you think?
Is it just symbolic, or could it have a bigger impact? Head over to our website and let us know.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye.